Veronica, I am so excited to talk to you. Another Boston girl, rookie season under your belt. Thanks for being here today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, year two, how are you feeling? How does this year compare to last year? Um, Walk me through what you're thinking right now.
Yeah, for sure. Just excited. I think excited to kind of get started again. It's been both a long and a quick off season. I think just long in terms of definitely a lot of just kind of training and on and off the court. And so now kind of getting that first year down, I know what to expect in this upcoming season and just kind of
Mhm.
the level of play that the WNBA is. So that's been especially helpful just in this past off season. But we also know, I know that training camp really goes quickly. So we have 4 to 5 days before our first preseason game. And so just, especially with our team, we kind of have a lot of new players, new coaching staff. And so we're just excited to kind of get some practices under our belt and get started.
When you look at the rookies coming in, knowing exactly a year ago you were in their shoes, what's your best piece of advice for them?
Yeah, one, to just enjoy it. And I would say also to just give yourself some grace. I think it's really easy, especially as athletes, now professional athletes. It's easy to be tough on ourselves. I mean, we've kind of always held ourselves to the highest of standards, and sometimes it's easy to kind of get down on yourself or just when things aren't clicking right away. It can be a lot at times. So I think just giving ourselves and allowing ourselves that grace. And I even, going into my second year, I'm kind of keeping that in mind as well.
When you need reminders to give yourself that grace, where do you look to? Where do you lean? Who do you lean on? Is it family, friends, coaching?
For sure. I would say a bit of all the above. I think I have great teammates and coaching staff from what I've seen so far, just
Mhm.
kind of reminding me, encouraging me, and uplifting me throughout it all, which is especially helpful going into this. And again, also my just other players in the league too. I think I've had great kind of just role models around me. Natasha Cloud, Jewel Lloyd, two phenomenal players in this league that I've really learned a lot from. And so I turn to them and they're really uplifting as well and just really wise. So I try and kind of take that all in, and then my family and friends, of course.
And so you're in a unique position where the WNBA had kind of, for some players that are playing now, it wasn't as big or as strong as it is now. You had some of those players to look up to. So, Natasha Cloud being one of them. And I mean, you look across the league and Diana Taurasi, Nafisa Collier, like you have these names. Who was um, most intimidating and like for you to play against last season?
That's a good question. There are definitely quite a few. I
Mhm.
think to play against, definitely DT was up there. Sylvia Fowles, I think obviously just owning the paint in that respect. I'd watched a lot of Courtney Vandersloot, so I
Mhm.
was really excited to kind of play against her. And again, I just knew how talented she was. So just so many of them. Chelsea Gray, a beast, obviously, and we just saw her continue to kind of get better and better. And so I would say those were some of my tougher matchups and just ones that I was really excited about. You obviously have people like Candace Parker, Asia Wilson, just kind of Stewie, just going into those games. You're both excited, but also know what they're capable of and know it's going to be a challenge for sure.
So when did this become the dream for you, the WNBA?
Think I had always had it in the back of my head, but it's interesting because I think when you ask probably a lot of people, it's just been a dream from when they were a young girl. And for sure, it's a dream come true. I don't think I necessarily knew that this was what I wanted or this was honestly a possibility for me, probably until early college,
Mhm.
late high school, even. And I had two older sisters that played basketball. And so they really paved the way for me. And I just kind of followed in their footsteps. And I was just so blessed to be able to kind of learn from what they did and what they didn't do. And for them, they were kind of done with basketball after college. And so I just kind of was like, all right, like college will be it for me. And then
Mhm.
I'll figure out what I want to do. And then as I kind of saw the success that I was able to have in college and just the time and the work that I was willing to put into it, and that wasn't really lessening with any year. I just kind of wanted to get better and better. And so I would say freshman year of college, uh, that's when I really made it my goal. And I knew that that's where I wanted to be.
So tell me about your family and the impact that they've had on your career, because a sports focused family, being from Boston, we know your dad, but also your siblings and your mom too. So talk to me about the growing up with such an athletic Burton family.
Yeah, it's meant the world to me for sure. And it's just how, honestly, I wouldn't be here, even close to here, if it weren't for each and every one of them. And I think every person in my family kind of brings a new area of expertise. And as you said, my mom, I think it can easily kind of get lost in there. But my mom was a swimmer. And so she was top dog, probably the best athlete in our house. And so I think when it comes to just, she may not know the most about basketball now, she does, just because we've had so many siblings. But initially, I think just the mental aspect of being a high level athlete, I've learned so much from her just off the court as well. And the time that my dad has put into me and my siblings, and just the early mornings, we would get up before school. He'd be the first to knock on our door to wake us up and just kind of get those extra shots up. And he just really instilled in me the work ethic. And that's something that I've never lost. And I think that's really ultimately what has allowed me to be in this position. And as you said, my siblings as well. I think it can easily, with just how sports centered we are, it can kind of easily be like, okay, is it overwhelming? Is it too much? But with my siblings, I think that's when it just becomes so much fun. And they're my biggest supporters, and they're always calling me before and after games. And I think they just remind me to just enjoy the process and not let it all just be work and business. And so that's what they're great for.
And that's an interesting thing that you bring up, because so many, professional athletes, got to where they are because of the love of the sport. And it can easily feel like a job, where there are moments last year in your rookie season of playing professionally, that you had to remind yourself how much you loved the game, and that it's a job, but it's fun.
100%. Without a doubt. I think that was a big kind of learning curve for me. And I think to this day, it's still a learning curve for me and probably a lot of players in the league. I would say before All-Star break, I've always been a bit hard on myself, but I think that's when I really realized, just in college, it's so easy when you have school, you're living with your roommates and all these other people, and you just, basketball is the fun part. And and it's great, and it's still difficult, and it's challenging, but that was just where you get to play, you get to have fun, you get to work towards your goals. And I think there were times in my rookie season where I was just too focused on, okay, like I need to perform at this level in order to, because it's a job, and that at any moment it can kind of be stripped away from you. I think that's a little added level of pressure. And so that's definitely what I had to remind myself, is that ultimately I'm here, I belong here, and that I love this game. And I think that's what's gotten me here. And so I think having All-Star break and just kind of taking that time to myself, I went back to Chicago, was with a lot of my Northwestern friends, and just I started to realize, okay, like I have to let myself enjoy it, because this is what I've wanted. I'm right where I wanted to be, and I've prayed for this, and I've wanted this. And so let me enjoy it, and let me just soak it all in, because a lot of people would love to be where I'm at. And so I think that's where I kind of saw that shift in my mindset.
That's incredible that you were able to reflect on that so early in your career, truly to have that understanding and to balance. And I'm sure it's not like the flip of a switch and now it's an ongoing thing. But then you come to the off season, and for a lot of people talk about how long that is, which I don't think like a lot of outsiders understand, that 7 months off is a long time to, like you said, right? You said it's long, but it's short. And you opted into Athletes Unlimited. Tell me about that experience, especially having it be in Dallas.
Yeah, it was great that it was in Dallas, especially just because a lot of the fans that I had kind of gotten to know in the community in Dallas that had supported me at Wings games were also able to attend the Athletes Unlimited games. So that alone was just huge for me. And I've just gotten more comfortable in the city of Dallas and just kind of embraced it, and have really enjoyed my time here. So it was a bonus that it was in Dallas for me, for sure. And again, AU, I think so many people talk about their favorite part about AU is just you get to really, you're playing such a smaller community, and you're in one place for 6 weeks, and you really get to know each other, and you have people kind of from all different like walks of life and different times of in their basketball career. You have retired players, players that played in college, and people that are playing currently in the W. So I just love having that mixture of wisdom and knowledge and age and all that just kind of coming together on one court and in one area. So I was able to just learn from so many people and just grow closer to the people that I will be playing against this upcoming season. And so it was a great experience. I think it challenged me on the court for sure. It kind of got me a bit out of my comfort zone just because it's less structured than, say, a W or even the college kind of games, because you're rotating teams every week, and you don't have a ton of time to prepare. So it definitely, I think, brought me out of my comfort zone in certain aspects, but it definitely made me better as well.
So bringing you out of your comfort zone, you often hear that that's where you grow. What is something that you're going to take from those 6 weeks into this, year 2?
Yeah, I think confidence is an area that I've struggled with, and especially on the court, and just even last season, and even in AU, I think just being confident in what I bring to the table, being confident in my abilities offensively and defensively. I think it's really easy for kind of me to get placed in that defensive mindset and for me to embrace it, but almost too much where I just focus on that end. So I think confidence in my offense, and that's what I'm looking to take for sure into season 2.
So you mentioned defense, and that's definitely where you stood out last year. But you also tied a WNBA record. Do you know this? Do you know this? That you're the second person in WNBA history to go perfect at the free throw line?
With Becky Hammond?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did hear that.
That's a big deal. How
Thank you.
do you stay so calm and collected, especially your first season? I'm sure that there's like these outside factors, and all of a sudden you're at the line. How do you stay calm and collected to go 100%?
Yeah. Definitely, I mean, free throws at the end of the day definitely comes down to just focus and poise at the line. I think I would have liked to go there more than I did, but I also just knew those were the free points, and it's already hard enough to score in this league as is. So any free opportunity that I could get to put some points on the board, that's what I was going to kind of lock in on. And so free throws can go up and down depending on the season. I'm hoping to kind of keep that going, but it's definitely just repetition. I mean, we do free throws when we're tired all the time, and in games you're tired and you have outside noise and stuff like that. But I think just kind of locking in and remaining focused on that line.
So you would be the person that I want. Remember, like when you were growing up, did you have the end of practice, you have to run suicides or sprints?
For sure.
I'd be like, I want Veronica every time.
There, for sure. But you do feel bad if you miss that one and everyone's back on the line, which I have done too.
Yeah, we've all been there. And we don't want to go back. That's for sure. So with a unique part of AU is that there is a charity component of it. And you played for the Ron Burton Training Village, which I know is here in Massachusetts, but it's something that's super special to you. Talk to us about that and the significance it played in your life.
Yeah, for sure. So the Ron Burton Training Village was kind of a nonprofit that my grandfather, Ron Burton, had started many years ago. And he passed away when I was 3. So unfortunately, I kind of didn't really get to know him personally too much, but just through the stories and just kind of through the accomplishments and more so just by the way people describe him as a person. I think that's really what I try and follow as an athlete and as a person. And he was able to give back. He really cared about giving back to the community. And so one way in which he did that was starting this village in which a lot of kind of maybe underprivileged or just a lot of opportunities for kids that may not kind of get the same resources. And it's kind of one athletic based, education based, spiritual based, and faith has played a major role in my life and just kind of in my career and where I've come. And so RBTV is what we call it, is very centered on that. And so growing up, it's also just evolved in so many ways. Growing up, it was 5 weeks over the summer for around 120 boys. Now there's also a girls program, which I'm thankful for. It's about time we did that. But 5 weeks where you would get up at around 5 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning and run 7 miles, except for the weekends. And so that alone, obviously very physically, mentally taxing, but I was right there along them doing it for sure. And it's just uh, grown. It's helped me grow in just so many areas of my life, and it's kind of instilled pillars of just the four pillars there: love, peace, patience, and humility. And I think that's kind of what I've tried to live by. And just the relationships as well. I think it's just some of my lifelong brothers are there, and my sisters as well now. And I'm just extremely thankful. It's a beautiful place in Hubbardston, Massachusetts. And so every summer I try and get back there. Obviously now with season, and when I was in college, we had summer school. So I haven't been able to kind of go as much, but anytime I can get back there, I can. It's the most peaceful place, and a place I'll cherish in my heart forever, for sure. And just allows me to connect with the younger generations.
Absolutely. There's a couple things I want to dive into there. Your faith. That's something that you've been vocal about, and I think is an important thing to talk about, right? When it comes to your success. When and where did you find the confidence to be vocal about it with teammates and friends? And
from a pretty young age, I think it's helped me. It's been in my family. I think just how centered we kind of made that in our lives. It was something that I never really wanted or cared to hide. I was never really embarrassed about it, or I don't know. It's just something that I'm so passionate about, and I think that has really just shaped who I am. And so I think it's just kind of obvious. If I'm praying before games, I'm doing devotions before games, people ask me, and so I would say high school is when I really kind of, if people were interested, I would kind of bring them along. We would pray before games as a team. College, definitely depending on, I had a few teammates that were also pretty strong in their faith. And so we would have those conversations. We would do devotions, whatever it may be. And I'm fortunate that even in the W now, we kind of have chapel and before games. And so I just kind of am always looking to kind of grow in my faith and remain steady. I think there's a lot of times, especially just becoming an adult, going through college to now where it's easy to lose sight of it, and it's easy to kind of get caught up in whatever I'm doing. And so that's just something I try and remind myself to, is just to kind of remember what got me here, what keeps me grounded. And that definitely is my faith.
I think it's really wonderful, because I think you're a role model for so many people to share that and to look up to. And that kind of taps into the second part there is this next generation, and giving back to this next generation, inspiring them. When you have young people at your games now in the community and come up to you and say, like, I want to be like you. Is that real yet? Has that sunk in?
I don't know if it ever fully will. For sure. I think just, it's something that I never knew like I could be, I would say, and I never really saw it in my future. I think it's just, honestly, I'm just in a blessed position to be able to look into the stands and see young girls and young boys wearing my jersey or having signs for me, and just coming up and asking for advice or stuff like that. I don't think I'll ever get tired of it. I don't think I'll ever really fully just be like, yeah, this is normal. But it's just a blessing, if I'm being honest. And just to be able to have that, any sort of impact on any young kid in sports is something that I hope to just kind of continue, and really just take time, whatever it may be. It could be after a win, after a loss, after my best game or my worst. I think just taking that time to kind of want to acknowledge the younger generation, but to also just give back, whatever that may look like, is super important to me.
Growing up, you had the support of your family, you had your faith. Was there ever an experience though in sports where you felt othered or left out, or that you didn't have the same opportunity as someone else, whether it was basketball or another sport?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I necessarily felt like othered or anything like that. I think obviously there's a big talk just between kind of women and men in sports, and that's obviously something that we're still fighting for. Being a woman in sport, being a Black woman in sports, I think just throughout college, we kind of saw, especially just kind of through the Black Lives Matter protests and just kind of having those important conversations, was a time where we really kind of had to key in on it and have the hard conversations and make sure that our voices were being heard, because a lot of times they aren't. And so whether it be the NCAA tournament and when we were in San Antonio and we just had significantly less kind of resources than in comparison to the men's tournament. And it finally kind of got exposed and put on display. I think that you'll see that honestly in basketball, but in any sport as a woman. Mm-hmm. And so I think we were fortunate to that one was a bigger one and that one kind of got on a bigger stage, but there's so many just discrepancies and times where we just kind of have to accept it and sit back and just take it. And so I think the women's game is just continuing to grow and evolve, and we're fortunate for that, but it's important that we continue to have the conversations and continue to kind of bring awareness to that.
Absolutely. And I think, last year we celebrated the 50th anniversary of Title IX, and some people look at that and say, well, yeah, 50 years of Title IX, we're problem solved, like we are where we need to go. So I commend you for continuing those conversations, because that's what's going to help. So when you look at the W, what is your hope for the next 10 years?
Yeah, I would say just a lot of continued growth and expansion. I think obviously getting, and it's not going to be easy, but getting a few more teams. I think we have way too many talented young women coming out of college that can easily play in the W, but that don't get the opportunity. Obviously, I'm fortunate to have a spot on a team right now, but at any given moment that can be stripped away. And a lot of people deserve to be in this league that aren't just because of spots alone and teams alone. So I think just growing that and having more opportunities. And then obviously the other details, whether it be chartered flights, to take care of our bodies in between games and stuff like that. And just, I think, continuing to listen to the W players and listen to kind of the wants and needs of the players and just the viewership. I think we made a big step forward, being able to kind of get those televised games on ION, but continuing to get the exposure and the stories told of the players of the league, because we have a lot of great players. We have a lot of great stories to be told. And so I think just that the viewership and getting that out there is huge.
100%. Couldn't agree more. One thing that I also love about the W is that all of you are incredible basketball players, but are individuals, and you're humans, and you're have other interests and passions, and share those with people. So what is something about Veronica Burton that people don't know but should know?
It's a good question. I think the first one I always say, but now more and more people obviously do know, that is just the faith aspect, how strong I am in my faith and how passionate I am about that, because I think that really is a major component to who I am as a person on and off the court. I would say that's the main one. And just, I love games. I'm very competitive in general. I love
like board games,
pickleball. I love spike ball, ping pong. I love board games too. Sorry, Monopoly, all that. Card games. I'm a big gamer in general outside of basketball. So I'm confident in those games as well.
So what does a Burton Family Game Night look like?
Oh, it's hectic. We'll do a lot of ping pong. We have a big old ping pong table right in our living room. So that's the main one where a lot of trash talk can come out. That, and then we're big on spades as well.
Who normally wins?
That's an argument. I'll say my brother Austin holds his own. I will say my dad is big on ping pong. I would say it's between my dad and my brother Austin, but I'm right up there. But if you ask any sister, we all agree Kayla, she'll get mad at me for this, Kayla's the worst. Well, I'll agree on that. But
you won't say who's best, but you'll say who's worst. Okay.
Yeah, we can all agree on Kayla, and I'm sure if she sees this, she'll give me a little heat for that. But
well, maybe it will lay a little fire. So
yeah, exactly.
I love that. And, I really appreciate your time. And I one final question for you. When things get tough, do you have a mantra that you lean on?
I would say when things get tough, first I'm going to pray. It's my first thing. And then I've been big on kind of just journaling a little bit more and just kind of finding whatever outlet is possible, because at the end of the day, things will get better. And yeah, so I would say that just finding an outlet of any way, whether it be going for a walk outside, a journal, whatever that looks like, because in any area, wherever we're at, it can be overwhelming. So just 100%. Give yourself that.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Best of luck this season. And when you're back in Boston, feel free to swing on by the studio.
Awesome. I would love to. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.